So, good morning, grade 9 students. In this session, we're going to continue with our genetics part. Before we start, let's remember together what the meaning of the dominant allele and the recessive allele. We said that the dominant allele is the one that is expressed in both homozygous or heterozygous, in both the pure or the hybrid. So it can be expressed in the case of pure or in the case of hybrid. That's why it's the dominant, and it's usually symbolized by a capital letter. However, the recessive allele is the allele that is expressed only in the homozygous with two weak alleles. That's why it's usually symbolized by a small letter. We said the genotype is the set of genes and their alleles. For example, BB, BG, GG, all of them, they are alleles. These are the set of genes and their corresponding alleles. So we call them the genotype. However, the phenotype is the observed trait. Tall, short, green, yellow, blue, purple, all of these, they are phenotype. So here you have this application. A male Drosophila with a gray body was crossed with female having black body. All the F1 they had gray. So first part, what would you deduce from this cross? Adi Fadlallah, what can you deduce from this cross? I told you that you have to write as the way that I gave you, since writing the same way will help you a lot in your quiz on your exam. Yes, Hadi, what would you deduce from this cross? Hadi Fadlallah, can you hear me? Okay, let's have Mahdi and then we can move to Hadi later on. Yes, Mahdi, what can you deduce from this cross?
I deduce from
First
this
of all,
cross that the dominant allele is the gray.
Mahdi, hi, how are you? Fine, good. First of all, you started the wrong way. I told you you have to copy the same way that I told you you have to know it. What do you have to say? Since all F1 they had
A gray
body like
means the dominant
no,
allele is the gray.
no,
Like one of the parents.
like one of the parents. Yes, Hadi.
Like the
Yes, Hadi. Can you give me the answer?
Since all the offsprings
Yes.
have the gray body like one of the parents,
Then
the what's it called? The gray allele
yes,
is the dominant over the
recessive.
black allele, which is recessive.
Very good. Over the black allele, which is recessive. So Mahdi, you have to start the way that Hadi said. Since all the F1 had gray body like one of the parents, so the gray allele, pay attention to the word allele. The gray allele is dominant over the black allele, which is recessive. And here always, whenever we start a question in grade 9, always the parents, they are pure. So if I ask you, Nurjan, thank you, Mahdi, and thank you, Hadi. Nurjan, if I ask you, what is the type of this cross? Justify your answer. What is the type of this cross?
Monohybrid cross.
Monohybrid cross. Why?
Hybrid.
Justify.
Since the parents are pure
Very
and
good.
differ in one plate on.
Very good. Very good. So here, this is the way. Since the parents are pure and they differ in only one trait, so this is called a monohybrid cross. These questions, they are very similar in all the questions that we have taken before. So all the questions, they are very similar. Since the parents are pure and they differ in only one trait, so this is a monohybrid cross. Sarah, designate by symbols each of the studied alleles.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Let capital G be the symbol of dominant gray allele over
Yes.
black recessive allele.
Very good.
Let small v
Very
be the
good.
symbol of black recessive allele, with respect to gray dominant allele.
Very good. So here we gave the symbols. Imagine that in one of the exercises, They told you what did you deduce from this cross, and what is the type of this cross, and they skipped part 3. They didn't ask for part 3. And then they move immediately to part 4. They ask you to perform the essential factorial analysis. So what I have to do, I have to give the symbol. I should give the symbols. If they didn't ask me for the symbols, I should do this. Okay? So the first part, Yalla Mariam, next question is yours. So the first part, since all of one are gray like one of the parents, since the parents are pure and the gray allele is dominant over the black, which is recessive. You can study the way how to write it, but you can change only the traits: gray, black, blue, purple, whatever. 2. Type of this cross, monohybrid. Mono, it's one. Hybrid, different only one trait, and the parents are pure. Symbols, let G capital be the symbol of the gray dominant allele over the recessive black allele, and let B small be the symbol of the black recessive allele with respect to the gray dominant one. So steps of the factorial analysis, we have the phenotype, the genotype, gametes, either percentage or proportion, table of cross, table of results. So here, let's move to part 4. What did they ask for question 4? Perform the essential factorial analysis to verify the results. I'm going to solve it in proportion. I wanted to solve it in proportion, not in percentage. So to start step by step in the factorial analysis, what is the first step in the factorial analysis? Yeah, Rana, the first step in the factorial analysis is what? What do we have to start?
Can you say the question, please?
What is the first step in the factorial analysis?
I don't know.
Great. So here, 3 weeks in studying the factorial analysis, and Rana doesn't know how to start with the factorial analysis.
Phenotype.
Phenotype. So the first step is the phenotype. So we have male and female. So we have to give the symbols of both male and female. So this is the symbol of the male. Don't forget to put the cross. And this is the symbol of the female. Yes, Mariam. Male and female. One of them is black. And the second is? The second is what, yeah, Mariam?
Gray.
Gray. So genotype. Which one is the dominant? Yes, Mariam. Which one is the dominant?
Gray.
Gray. So the genotype for the gray should be what?
GG.
G capital. Very good. And the black, it's B small.
B small.
Very good. Moving now to the gametes. Yes, Amir Sham. Gametes. In the male.
Yes.
Of the symbol gamma. In the male, how many different types of gametes do we have?
One for the male.
Which is?
B interval 100%.
I want to work it in proportion.
100%.
Proportion, not percentage. I want to work in proportion. It's 1 over?
4 over 4.
1 over 1. Here in the female, we have gray. So here gray, G capital.
Gray, yeah.
It's 1 over.
Also 1 over 1.
Then we move to the table of cross. In the table of cross, I have first to divide it into male and female. This is the first step. Here I have to divide the male and female. Then I move to the gametes. What are the symbols of the gametes for the male? It's B, 1 over 1. And female, G. G, it's 1 over 1. So G times B, it's a GB. 1 over GB. 1 times 1 over 1, it will stay 1 over
1 over 1.
Table of result, what do we have to put? We have to put genotype and phenotype. Genotype and phenotype. This is how to do the table of result. Genotype, and here we have the phenotype. Okay? So here, genotype, it's a GB 1 over 1. So what is the phenotype? They are 1 over 1 what? They have gray or black. They have 1 over 1 gray.
Gray.
Why? Because the gray allele, it is dominant.
Gray.
It can be expressed in both homozygous and heterozygous. So here, this is the F1. They have to say therefore, results are verified.
Verified.
Okay? If they said to verify the results, therefore results are verified. Thank you, Amit. Moving to Fadl. Fadl Basma. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
If I ask you, Fadl, what is the genotype of the F1 generation? What is the genotype of the F1? Here across the black and the gray, they gave you the F1 generation. What is the genotype of the F1 generation? Yes. What is the genotype of the F1? Already we calculated right now.
Self cross.
Did you hear the question, Fadl? You want to
Yes.
find the genotype of the F1. The genotype of the F1. What is the genotype of the F1? After crossing black and the gray, what did we get? We got this, the genotype. So what is the genotype? It's a GB. This is the genotype.
Yes.
So this is the genotype of the F1 of the first generation. Okay?
Phenotype gray and gray.
Okay.
Gray.
So I need the genotype. The genotype is a GB. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's move now to part 5. 2 F1 flies, they are crossed. And the following F2 offspring, they are obtained. We got 12 gray, 4 black. So we crossed 2 F1. Abbas, when we cross F1 with F1, what do we call this cross? Abbas Haitian.
Yes.
What do we call this cross? Good, good. Mariam, what do you think?
Self-cross.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you. We cross 2 F1 individuals, Abbas. This means that this is a self-cross, F1 with F1. So we solved this hundreds of times before. F1 cross with F1, this is a self-cross. Part B, calculate the percentage of each of the phenotypes obtained. So if I want to calculate the percentage, there is a rule. Percentage of the gray, first of all, I have to calculate the total number. Total, it's a 12 plus 4. So the total is 16. So the percentage of the gray, it's the number of the gray over the total times 100. So it's 12 over 16 times 100. So it will be 75%. And calculate the percentage of the black, we can say percentage of the black, it's 4 over 16 times 100. 4 over 16 times 100. So it will be 25%. Here they want you to perform the essential factorial analysis to verify the results. So to perform the factorial analysis, first of all, you have to know to calculate the percentage. It's the percentage of the gray. It's the number of the gray over total times 100. So this is the type of cross. It's called self-cross. So percentage of the gray, it's the number of the gray over the total times 100. So it's 12 over 16 times 100. So it's 75%. And percentage of the black is the number of the black over the total times 100. This rule, this formula, you have to study it. So here, let's move now to the part 5, self-cross, crossing F1 with F1. Crossing F1 with F1. First step, we have to start with the factorial analysis column. What do we have to start first in the factorial analysis? We have to start first step with?
Hello?
Yes. First step of the factorial analysis for?
First step for the factorial analysis is first self-cross and then phenotype.
Phenotype. Very good. So phenotype, we are crossing F1 with F1. Each F1, male and female, both of them, they are what? Gray or black?
Both of them are going to be gray.
Gray.
Color,
very good. So gray, here we wrote gray, crossed with gray. Okay? Second step, it will be what? The
genotype.
Genotype. What is the genotype of the F1 we calculated before?
Yeah, it's going to be GB for both.
Very good. Excellent. For both of them. Since it's F1 with F1, so both of them should have the same phenotype and the same genotype. Very good. Moving now to the gametes of the symbol gamma. This is the gametes of symbol gamma. So, male, how many different alleles we have? 2. So we have two different gametes. The male will give two different gametes. What are these gametes? They are G
and B,
and B.
respectively.
Here they need in percentage. So here it's going to be 50% and 50%. While here, also in the female, we have two different gametes for the female. Also, we have G and B. Both of them 50%. And pay attention. In the exam or in the quiz, the question, all of it should be either percentage or proportion. But here, I tend to make it mixed because I want you to get used for both of them, for the percentage and for the proportion. Let's move now to the table of cross and the table of result. In the table of cross, what do we have to do? In the table of cross, we have to divide it first into male and female. This is the first step. Divide it into male and female. Here, I divide it into male and female. In the male, we have two different gametes. We have a G and we have B. Each of it is going to be 50% and 50% here. Don't forget to put the percentage. And here, G and B, 50% and 50%. Moving forward, Aline Diab. Aline, first step, G times G, it will be what? It will be G, G, right?
Yes.
So Aline, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so G, what is the percentage? What do? We cross the zeros, 5 times 5, it will be what? 25%.
25%.
Then G times B, GB, percentage?
25%.
Very good. Then G times B down here, it will be GB. We don't start,
GB.
always we start with the dominant, 25%. And the last one will be BB, 25%. Moving now, Aline, to the table of result. In the table of result, what do we have? We have to put genotype and phenotype. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move now to Yasmina. Thank you, Aline. Yasmina. What are the different genotypes, Yasmina?
Genotypes.
Yes. First one we have G. GG. Percentage?
It's 25.
25%. The second genotype is
GB.
GB. How many GBs do we have? We have two. We have this one and we have this one. So it will be what? 25
So
plus
it's
25?
50%.
50%. And the last one, it's BB, 25%.
25%.
Okay. GG, it will be what? It will be gray, right?
Yes.
And GB?
Black.
Why? GB. Which one is dominant?
It's also gray.
It's also gray. Why? Because G is dominant. It can be expressed in the homozygous or in the heterozygous. So here, the total is 75% they are gray.
Gray.
And 25% they are
Black.
Okay? So here, the results are verified. What do you have to say at the end? Therefore, results are verified.
Verified.
Okay, thank you. So therefore, results are verified. Let's move now to the part number 5. And part 6, sorry, 2 flies are also crossed. But here, I want you in proportion. So what do we do in the proportion? We take the smallest number. Then divide all the numbers by the small numbers, add the numbers, and set up the ratio. Example, smallest number, we have 4 and we have 12. So what is the smallest number? Is 4. Divide by it. So for the gray, 12 divided by 4, we got 3. 4 divided by 4, it's 1. So we add 3 plus 1, it's 4. So for the gray, it's a 3 over 4. For the black, it's 1 over 4. The same way we had to solve it, but here, factorial analysis should be in proportion and not in percentage. Let's move to this question, which was the homework. In a human species, the allele responsive. Yes, Nurjan, do you have a question or you want to answer?
No question, no.
Okay, so in human species, the allele responsible for dark hair character is dominant with respect to the recessive allele responsible for the red hair character. Part A, Yes, Lana. Part A, designate by symbols the corresponding alleles. So I want you to give me the symbols of the corresponding alleles.
Yes.
Yes, please. You have to give the symbols of the corresponding alleles.
The dark hair, we put the D capital because
okay, you have to write
dominant.
Let
the dark hair.
We are talking about
let D
alleles.
be the capital.
D capital be the symbol.
D be the symbol of the dominant
dark hair
allele.
Very good. And the red hair?
And the red hair be the small letter.
Okay, let R small be the symbol of the red hair
allele,
which is recessive. So here you gave the symbol for the dark D capital and for the red R small. Thank you. So the marriage of man A with dark hair. Man A with dark hair. We said that the dark is dominant, so we gave it the symbol D capital. And the red, it's recessive, so we gave it the symbol of the allele R small. The marriage of dark hair man to woman B with dark hair. They gave birth to 2 children. Boy C with red and girl D with dark. So first step, man A has dark hair. So what are the possible genotypes? Who can tell me? Or genotype? Yes, I need new voices here. I want to hear new voices. I want new voices. I want to Serene Bitar. Good morning. Serene, can you hear me? I think she had a connection problem. Let's move now to Fatima Manna. Good morning. Okay, these silent students. I'm going to talk about this at the end of the session. Yeah, so marriage of man A with dark hair. Man A, dark hair. So the dark hair allele is dominant. So it can be expressed in both homozygous or heterozygous. So the genotype, it can be either DD or it can be DR, since it's dominant and it can be expressed in both homozygous and heterozygous. These are the possible genotypes. I didn't give the answer. Woman B also has dark hair. Also, it can be either DD or DR. So if we ask you, Sarah, boy C has red hair. So what are the possible genotype or genotypes? شو ممكن يكون الجينوتايب تبعوله red hair؟
RR.
It can be RR or
only
RR. Only RR because it's recessive and can be expressed unless in the case of homozygous. So هذا البوي عنده RR. So he should inherit R from each of his parents, man A or woman B. So woman B and man A هذه فضل الله can be DD or DR. Yes, Hadi, what do you think? The woman A, woman B, and man A, they can be DD or DR.
Yes, sir. What'd you say?
The woman B and man A, they are DD or DR. They gave birth to a son with red hair. Red hair, he has both RR. So he should inherit
DR.
DR, exactly. Why? This one is not possible. DD is not possible. And this one is not possible. Why? Because this son has RR. Should inherit
from
each of the parents.
From the dad.
Very good. So he should inherit. You have to use the word inherit. And he should get R from each of her parents. So this is the possible cases. It's only DR. Thank you, Hadi. Mahdi, what do you think? The girl D with dark hair. What is the possible genotype or what are the possible genotypes? Yes, Mahdi. has dark hair. So sure, it has the allele D, right?
Yeah.
So what is the second allele?
Yeah. It could be DD.
Or it could be D or DR. We have two possibilities.
DR.
Two possibilities. Either it's DD or DR. ما فينا نعرف unless it's married, and we can determine this later on. So this is DD or DR. Okay, Mahdi?
DR.
Okay, great. Whenever they said determine the genotype, we have to explain, to justify this. Because if we didn't justify, your answer is not complete. Now, Sun C. Sun C marries. Sun C, it has genotype R small, R small. We calculated here. Marries a heterozygote woman E with dark hair. Who can tell me what is the genotype of the heterozygote woman E with dark hair? What is the genotype? Heterozygote, meaning that it's hybrid. Who can tell me the genotype? Yes, the genotype of the woman E. It's heterozygote with dark hair. Yes, Nurjan, what do you think?
Yes.
They said heterozygote woman E with dark hair. What the meaning of heterozygote? It has two different alleles, right?
Yes.
Dark hair. So what is the genotype? شو ممكن يكون الجينوتايب؟ Yes.
DD.
DD, it's not heterozygote. It's homozygote. So it should be D, and the second one should be R. So that's why I told you you have to review the notes related to the heterozygote and the homozygote. Heterozygote, it has two different alleles. So heterozygote, two different alleles, and it's dark hair, so it should be DR. If it's DD, it's not heterozygote, it will be homozygote. They said, do the factorial analysis to determine the phenotypic, pay attention here, proportions. So here I have to work it as proportion. As a proportion and not as percentage. We have to work it as ratio to verify the results here or to determine the descendants. Let's start step by step in this exercise. Factorial analysis. First step, you have to start with the phenotype of the parents. So we have phenotype. Phenotype, the male has red hair. Sun C has red. So red hair crossed with the female. The female, it has what? The female has dark hair. Okay, it has dark hair. Then I'm going to continue with the second one, which is the genotype. The genotype for the red hair, it's recessive, so it should be homozygous. So it should be R small, R small,
R small.
crossed with dark. They said it's heterozygous, so it's DR. Then we move to the gametes. Gametes, it's RR. So gametes are R. So we have only one allele, so only one gamete, which is R. And they word it in proportion. So it's not 100%, it's 1/1. Okay? So let's continue now to the female. We have two different alleles, so it's two different gametes, D capital and R small. And each of them is going to be half. 1/2, 1/2. Moving now to the table of cross. Table of cross. So here in the table of cross, I have to divide it into male and female. So here I'm going to put the female. Let's change. كل مرة عم نحط المale above. And this for the male. So female, it has two. It has D as a half. And it has R small as half. And here we have only R as 1/1. To cross them, R times D, it's DR. What is the proportion? Half times 1/1. It's like the math. 1/2 times 1/1. Numerator by the numerator, and the denominator by the denominator. 1 times 1, it's 1. Over 2 times 1, it's 2. So
2.
it's 1 over 2.
2.
And r times r, it's r, and it's also 1 over 2.
2.
Table of result, we have to divide it into genotype and phenotype. So genotype, here it's the genotype, and next it's the phenotype. Genotype, and this is the phenotype. Genotype, it's dr, which is half, and we have rr, which is also half. So dr, it gives what? Dark or red. D is dominant, so half of them will be dark red, dark hair, dark hair. And the other half will be red hair. So 1 over 2, red hair. Okay? So here, this is the factorial analysis, and we verified or we determined the phenotypic proportion. Here we don't have the results. In order to say therefore results are verified, here we determine only the results. And these you have to review them very well for the next session.